Right now.
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 Because it's time to write now.
Right now.
Right
Right now.
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 Because it's time to write now.
Right now.
Right
Right now.
Welcome to another late night writing session as I continue to walk you through the process of working on the third draft of my novel, The Last Scarecrow. And I show you just what it looks like. My third draft tends to be a read aloud combined with a minor line edit while trying to cut down on wordiness and improving style here and there. So come join. What does a third draft look like for you? I would love to hear. Drop a comment. By the way, welcome to the Right Now community. I'm Kaufman, daily writing streamer, 700 consecutive streams and counting, and eager to hop into it. Haven't gone to have too many writing sessions so far this week, so definitely looking forward to seeing what we do. Feel free to kick back and relax if you want to hang out, or come join in and let's see what we see. All right, and as you can see, I already have my software all set up. So we are in chapter 13. That's right. This is kind of like a downtime chat. Well, I mean, it starts off as downtime and then we get introduced to a new character. Let's see how it sounds. We're early on in Act 2. Chapter 13, When Push Comes to Pebble. I'll cross any flame, fly a shooting star, travel through space. Her grayish blue eyes stared accusingly up at him from a bed of rocks. No feathers, no quilts. Her clothing was awash in dirt and mud as she sank into the earth like quicksand, and he at her bedside as if gripping her melting fingertips would save her. Save the beanie or burn in hell, Scarecrow. He tried to hold on, but she melted away until he was left alone, standing back in the field of shorn, mutilated scarecrows. Guilty eyes, accusing looks, haunting expressions. Looking down at his bloody, vine-wrapped twig fingers, he whispered, "It's not my fault." Before him, two halves of scarecrow bodies rose into the air above the corn until they merged into large onyx wings. A silhouette was given shape until the first demon appeared. The creature was tiny, its red scales shining bright, its horns ablaze, and its eyes like burning infernos as it pointed at him. "I curse you with nothingness." From the ground, her eyes stared at him accusingly. From the field, mangled scarecrow eyes haunted him. Scarecrow screamed as the demon dove at him. He screamed as the demon dove at him. And shine, Strawbright. And shine, Strawbrain. Scarecrow sat upright, breathing profusely. He felt a pecking sensation on his forehead. Mr. Crow perched atop his head, pecking at him and repeating the wake-up call. He tried catching his breath, realizing in terror that his hat wasn't on his head. He grabbed the crow by the chest and pulled the bird to eye level. "What did you do with my hat?" Scarecrow roared. Silence. Mr. Crow looked to the ground where the hat had fallen off. Scarecrow let go and reached for the hat. The coarse leather stitching brought about a sigh of relief as he returned it squarely to his head. The crow flapped in the air with a craned neck and a questioning look. Scarecrow rubbed his forehead, inhaling deeply. I'm sorry. He took another breath while thumbing the brim of the hat reassuringly. "I saw things while I slept." "Terror dreams made flesh?" Mr. Crow squawked. "Terror dreams. Yes, it was a dream, I think." "Dreams are death," Mr. Crow cawed warningly. Scarecrow peered up at him after a moment. "Dreams are death?" Mr. Crow circled, calling, "Death, dreams, death." Scarecrow sighed as he questioned his feathery companion's sanity. A soft breeze swept through the stable, and he was reminded of the nearby smell of decay. "Let's go." In no time at all, they were outside of the stables, crisscrossing between ruins and back on one of the main roads. In no time at all, they were outside of the stables, crisscrossing between ruins and back on one of the main roads, leading toward the edge of New City. Destruction and ruin spread out in all directions. As Scarecrow walked, he noted the clouded, bloody sky, as if the clouds themselves were bleeding onto the ruined city. He half expected blood-red crystals to rain down, but all was clear. If anything, it felt like a cool autumn day. Glancing ahead, they were nearing the city's edge, much faster than when he had entered. Mr. Crow flew just before him, scanning in all directions. Mr. Crow flew just before him, scanning near and far. near and far. The gigantic wall marking the city's edge loomed overhead. They approached a pile of rubble leading up to a small hole in the wall, as if something had once torn through the foundation. They might be able to fit through. With ease, Scarecrow climbed the rubble, feeling like this was the right way to depart. At the top, he viewed the ruined landscape one last time, with a gut feeling that he wouldn't be returning anytime soon. At the top, he glanced back at the ruined landscape one more time, at the ruined city one last time, with a gut feeling that he wouldn't be returning anytime soon. He pushed the images of death and destruction. He pushed the images of death out of his mind and tried to remember the city for what it was meant to be, a place of community and hope. Community and hope. Smiling sadly, he now knew this world retained. Smiling sadly, he knew this world retained very little hope. He resolved to be more hopeful, uplifting even in future encounters. Mr. Crow flew through the hole's ice crack with ease, as Scarecrow forced himself into one. He was barely able to fit. He resolved to be more hopeful, uplifting even in future encounters. Maybe he could even save. Maybe he could even save some others along the way. Mr. Crow flew through the hole-sized crack with ease, as Scarecrow forced himself into it. He was barely able to fit through. Pushing himself through the crack was another problem. He pushed and pushed. Eventually bursting out the other side. He pushed and pushed, eventually bursting out the other side as the leg of his pants tore and straw shot out. Losing his balance, Scarecrow fell face first, rolling down a short slope, straw and stuffing flying in his wake, until he landed with a thud on ground level. Opening his eyes, he was greeted by a dull red glow of tiny blood-red crystals. Opening his eyes and sitting up. Until he landed. Scarecrow fell until he landed with a thud on ground level. Opening his eyes, he was greeted by a dull red glow of tiny blood-red crystals, a small field of them. Immediately thinking back to the encounter in the market with the monstrosity, or the first demon, he pushed himself away, crawling back as far as possible. He hit the wall and caught his breath as he surveyed the crystals, which had formed a trail and led away. What if they were, actually, let's fix this. What if they were attacked by another monstrosity? Let's go. Pushing himself away. He crawled back as far as possible until he hit the wall. Pushing himself away, he crawled back as far as possible. He hit the wall and caught his breath as he surveyed the crystals, which had formed a trail and led away from the city into a grassy field beyond. He looked around, half expecting some beast to rise and attack them, but all was silent. I did do that there. Yeah, I think that's stronger. Opening his eyes, he was greeted by a small field of dull red glow. He was greeted by a small field of dull red glow of tiny blood red crystals. All right, opening his eyes, he was greeted by a dull red glow of tiny blood red crystals. Pushing himself away, he rolled back onto him. He rolled back He rolled back. And pushed. He rolled back and pushed himself away. He rolled back and pushed himself away, trying to get as far as possible. He hit the wall and caught his breath as he surveyed the crystals, which had formed a trail and led. He hit the wall and caught his breath as he surveyed the crystals, which had formed a trail. Hit the wall and caught his breath as he surveyed the crystals, which had formed a trail and led away from the city into a grassy field beyond. He looked around, half expecting some beast to rise and attack them, but all was silent. But all was quiet. Mr. Crow hung in midair, watching. We should stay away from those, Scarecrow cautioned as he picked himself up and tried not to think about from. Scarecrow cautioned as he picked himself up. We should stay away from those, Scarecrow cautioned as he picked himself up and rubbed his hands together. As he picked himself up and rubbed his hands together. Scarecrow cautioned as he picked himself up and rubbed his hands together. One problem at a time, he said reassuringly with a gulp. Inspecting the tears in his coat and all of the straw he had lost was, let's see, all right, I think that can work as a transition. We should stay away from those, Scarecrow cautioned as he picked himself up and rubbed his hands together. One problem at a time, he said reassuringly with a gulp. Looking around. Let's go. Looking around, he realized he didn't know where they should go. Looking around, he realized just how much straw lay scattered about. Inspecting the tears in his coat and all the straw he had lost was worrying. Mr. Crow, I need straw, stuffing, or something to fill myself with. Scarecrow grabbed either side of his coat and spun around, or I won't last very much longer. He poked a finger through a hole in his abdomen. Mr. Crow cawed before landing upon Scarecrow's shoulder. Eyeing his feathery friend with a questioning look, companion with a questioning look, Scarecrow asked, Any ideas? He poked through holes in his side, right arm and left leg. Mr. Crow tilted his head. With an eye roll, Scarecrow plucked a piece of straw and a small handful of stuffing from within his other side and held it before the crow's beak. Mr. Crow's eyes lit up as he snatched the straw and stuffing with his beak and gulped them down in one bite. Scarecrow flung his arms in the air as the bird flew out of reach. Mr. Crow, that's not food. Food makes dirt and gardens grow. Mr. Crow cawed, circled Scarecrow, and flew alongside the wall in the opposite direction, away from the blood-red crystals. Food makes dirt and gardens grow, the bird repeated, glancing back. Scarecrow sighed as he followed along and hoped Mr. Crow knew where to go. Scarecrow sighed as he followed along, and hoped Mr. Crow knew where to go. Not like he had much recollection of this area. Let's fix that. Do you know where more straw or stuffing is? Straw or stuffing? Do you know where more straw or stuffing might be? Actually, let's see. Do you know where more straw or stuffing might be? Scarecrow called out, chasing after the crow. Food makes dirt and gardens grow, the bird repeated, glancing back without stopping. Scarecrow sighed as he followed along and hoped Mr. Crow knew where to go. They reached another collapse in the wall, but here the area was padded with finely packed dirt. Mr. Crow turned away from the wall, staying just above the dirt path that led away from the ruins, the ruined city. Scarecrow followed, noting the well-maintained dirt path. Let's see, we can fix that. Mr. Crow turned away from the wall, staying just above the dirt path that led away from the ruined city. They followed the path, which began to zigzag. They followed the well-maintained path. They traversed the well-maintained dirt path, zigzagging further away from New City. They traversed the well-maintained dirt path, zigzagging further away from New City. I was like, I don't know. I must have did this yesterday. I realized I was editing this, or I was revising this yesterday, and I was like, all right, time to get to the next story beat. And then I think I have like 2 pages of just interiority, or I just don't think I moved the story along. All right. Let's see. Scarecrow tried glancing up at the sun, but his eyes watered. They were surrounded by fields of pristine grass in all directions. Specks of a tree line were far off on the distant horizon. We traveled through a desert before arriving here, right? Scarecrow questioned as he jogged after Mr. Crow. Winter that rained fire upon the world. Deserts that shot lightning from the earth, and now this. The weather patterns here were strange. Summer became winter, which became spring. The thought made his head spin. He tried to recall if the weather had always been like this, but it only made his head hurt. Coming up with blanks. All right, so we touch on the weather. Grass and sand and grass, sandy grass, Mr. Crow chirped. Mr. Crow's demeanor wasn't inspiring confidence that he was a clear-headed animal with a true sense of direction. Scarecrow had no choice but to follow. It's not like he had any inclination where they were. Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting. All right. So this, I feel like I'm gonna have to adjust this section. All right, so I see what we're doing. I basically turned to a foreshadow. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I'm kind of like playing around with how much I'm pushing out because this is kind of just traveling, and I'm like, what am I really accomplishing? But I want to show that they're traveling a little bit. Hmm. Interesting. Okay, so I see what I did. I'm like I'm doing a foreshadowing, but I'm like with the way the next chapter is framed, I'm asking myself how much foreshadowing is actually necessary, but it's kind of a little bit of a red herring as well. Okay. So this is kind of interesting. I'm let's see. So I am trying to fix this beat that we're about to go into. It, I'm just like it kind of feels a little extra. I'm not sure if it's even necessary. Hmm. All right. So I think this is making it a little bit more linear with what's going on. Hey, what's up, Cap? Hmm. Yes, I mean this is interesting. I mean, I'm just like what's happening is there's extra. I did a bunch more foreshadowing that I just don't think's really all that necessary, because of just how well the next chapter turned out. I always appreciate you stopping by, Cap. Hopefully you're reading some hey, I was reading some stuff and stopped by. Hopefully you're reading some fun stuff this evening. Hopefully it's a good night or a good day, wherever we're at. Hey, what's up, Adrian? How do y'all figure I'll join in tonight and get some writing done? Nice. Nice. Hopefully you're getting some progress as well, my friend. I am currently working on the third draft of Scarecrow. Making some pretty good progress. I do a read aloud for the third draft. As I do like minor line edits for it. What happens though is I get to these beats where it's like, okay, they're not I need to like slightly tweak it up. I'm just trying to decide what's necessary. Hmm. All right. So I'm wondering if this is all right. So this is the beat where we introduce the pixie. Um, this last section, I was like, I like knew I needed to kind of shorten it because like the beginning of this chapter is kind of just like a little bit more of a transition. Yeah, and I mean, I have about let's see, I want to say it's probably about a page of them traveling through this grassland. So I mean, it's definitely slightly better, but I'm gonna have to read back through the beginning of this chapter and see how it flows. I realized I just need to pick up the pace because, I mean, the pace throughout most of the book so far has been pretty consistent in terms of like highs and lows. But the last chapter was a low pace intentionally. This chapter, I needed to increase the pace a little bit. Wow, Adrian, that's awesome. You said you're close to passing 50K words on your work in progress, which is a third of the way done. So it's a nice little milestone I should hit this weekend. Nice. That sounds like you're making some solid progress, my friend. That's actually really, really incredible. Keep up the good work. We're going to do it. We're going to make progress this weekend. Cap, man, being made of straw sure would be an interesting moment if Scarecrow was walking on some grassy path at some point and he lost his leg and didn't realize it was for something. Ooh, straw gore. Oh, Cap, if only you knew what happens to Scarecrow's legs. Oh man, Scarecrow definitely has a couple instances in this story where he doesn't stay very well attached to his limbs. Oh man. Okay, so I've moved past this beat. Okay, we're going to see how this the intro, the pixie intro sounds. Check yourself, straw stack. I'm walking here. Check yourself. Check yourself, straw stack. I'm walking here. A tiny voice with a melodic vibrato squeaked from beneath his impending footstep. Scarecrow stumbled aside, managing to catching it. Scarecrow stumbled aside, managing catching himself before falling. Scarecrow stumbled aside, managing to catch himself before falling. Trotting along the earth was a peculiar little creature, roughly the size of his palm, attempting to carry a pebble through the field of dirt with much difficulty. Attempting to carry a pebble along the dirt path. Along the dirt path with much difficulty. Scarecrow had to drop to a knee to get a better look. Scarecrow had to drop to a knee to get a better look at the tiny creature. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald aqua glow, wrapped tightly around a thin frame. All right, let's like, oh my goodness, this description is so important too. Like, I hope I got this right. Okay, an ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald aqua glow. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald aqua. I was like, we don't need that. With a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around a thin frame. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood pulled over her head. Velvet. So I go emerald. I go subtle emerald cloak, velvet hood. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion and lilac-colored locks. All right, not lilac. Like, what color is lilac? What color is lilac? Yep. Okay. Yeah. So I did do that right. And lilac-colored locks. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. So, an ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion and lilac-colored locks. It looked like a doll's hand hung out of her cloak pocket, but it was hard to tell. It looked like a doll's hand hung out of her cloak pocket. It looked like a doll's hand hung out of the creature's cloak pocket, but it was hard to tell. My eyes are up here, straw stack. Let's see, what do you guys think? Close my... He's allergic to limbs. He's allergic to something, that's for sure. Is this one of those limophobic characters that can't keep their limbs on for dear life? So, Kat, this is really interesting because when I conceptualized Scarecrow originally, it's not that he can't keep onto his limbs. It's that he keeps getting put into situations where his limbs keep getting stolen from him. Oh man, yeah, he just doesn't this isn't a very kind world. And unfortunately, the more he does and the farther he travels, he's losing straw. And he's losing straw and stuffing along the way because he keeps getting into crazy things happen. So he's actually right now he thinks that the crow is leading him to a garden where there's more straw there because he's quickly running out of straw. You compare the cloak to something immaterial. Like what? You said immaterial. Yeah, I was like, let's see. When I did ethereal, what did I think I do like ethereal. I think ethereal is right for the cloak. I'm just trying to make sure that I get it right. So an ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion and lilac-colored locks. While the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion underneath. While the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion and lilac-colored locks. A doll's hand hung out of her cloak pocket. Hung out of her cloak pocket. Hung out of a cloak pocket. And was she barefoot? Or were those... And was she barefoot? Or were those shoes also? And were those... And was she barefoot? Or were her feet also. All right, there we go. Scarecrow getting distracted. An ethereal cloak. Okay, so let's see. This is so important too. This is Pebble's introduction. Check yourself, Straw Stack. I'm walking here. A tiny voice with a melodic vibrato squeaked from beneath his impending footstep. Scarecrow stumbled aside, managing to catch himself before falling. Trotting along the earth was a peculiar little creature, roughly the size of his palm, attempting to carry a pebble along the dirt path with much difficulty. Scarecrow had to drop to a knee to get a better look at the tiny creature. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion and lilac-colored locks. A doll's hand hung out of a cloak pocket. And was she barefoot, or were her feet also? My eyes are up here, Straw Stack. That's not very nice. Name callings, not. No, we'll go. That's not very nice. So is squashing me to death. You dum-dum. So is squash me to death, you dum-dum. Hundreds, 100 years of bad luck if you do. With a casual flick of her head, she stuck out her tongue at him and kept walking. With a casual flick of her head, she stuck out her tongue at him and kept walking. I should probably reference her eyes here. All right, I have to pull up the story Bible now. Because I need to go to her design. Pebble. Where are we? Let's see. I was like, I don't know if I ever determined if I ever said what her eye color was. I always go back and forth on her eye color, on whether her eye color is green or purple. She has green skin. She has light green skin because she's a pixie. Purple hair, ethereal cloak. Kind of go back and forth on her eye color, which is interesting. All right, that's something I need to think through. I'm sure I probably reference it again later. We're going to make a note of this. Pebbles. Let's see what I'm in. What, chapter 12? I think still. Chapter 12. Pebbles. Eye color. Green or purple. To think about what color makes sense. I know, LeMay. I know, LeMay. This is why it's interesting because you're you're so used to after they've already met. This is their first introduction. That's why this is such an important moment. That's not a bad description though, Cap. Were it you were writing, you would have probably compared the cloak to nature's green glass made cloth. That's actually kind of a cool description. Yeah, you see, I don't use I don't reference I feel like I don't always reference make references like that as often. I feel like I could probably do better than that. Yeah, I was like, I feel like I use metaphors to a certain extent. Um, yeah, I could probably do better with that though, personally. Hey, what's up, Brooklyn? What's up, Brooklyn? Welcome, welcome, my friend. We are just at Pebble's introduction. We were just at the Pixies introduction. That's kind of cool. The crow has two different colored eyes. The crow has one black eye and one silver. But the pixie does have the same color eye. I just need to figure out what color eye I want that to be. Okay, I keep getting distracted. All right. All right, check yourself, straw stack. I'm walking here. A tiny voice with a melodic vibrato squeaked from beneath his impending footstep. Scarecrow stumbled aside, managing to catch himself before falling. Trotting along the earth was a peculiar little creature, roughly the size of his palm, attempting to carry a pebble along the dirt path with much difficulty. Scarecrow had to drop to a knee to get a better look at the tiny creature. An ethereal cloak with a subtle emerald glow wrapped tightly around her thin frame, while the velvet hood pulled over her head hinted at a pale forest green complexion and lilac-colored locks. A doll's hand hung out of a cloak pocket. And was she barefoot, or were her feet also? My eyes are up here, Strawstack, she said, pointing to her vibrant green eyes. Pointing to a vibrant green, to her vibrant green eyes, to her vibrant green pupils. That's not very nice. So squash me to death, you dum-dum. 100 years of bad luck if you do. With a casual flick of her head, she stuck her tongue out at him. She stuck her tongue out and kept walking. My sincerest apologies. I didn't see. And your face looks like a pile of. She glanced at the bird. She glanced at his companion. Crow dung. Now shoo. This is my path. Now shoo. I'm walking here. Scarecrow stood up. Scarecrow stood up, confused, not certain how to respond. She sure was an angry little thing. She sure was a feisty little thing. He looked around for Mr. Crow. A noticeable weathered beak protruded just above his field of vision, indicating his. He looked around for Mr. Crow, whose beak protruded. He looked around for Mr. Crow, whose beak protruded from just above his eyesight, indicating the bird had taken a nest upon his hat. He looked around for Mr. Crow, whose beak protruded from just above his eyesight, indicating the bird had taken nest upon his hat. Indicating the bird had perched upon his hat. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. Scarecrow. Scarecrow whispered. As Scarecrow whispered as he watched her. Scarecrow whispered as he watched her struggle to shove the rock along the path. She looks familiar. He traced the contours of his straw chin as he watched her toil. He rubbed his chin. He rubbed his chin as he watched her toil away with that pebble, one drawn out footstep at a time. Even from this height, the strain was noticeable. Does that tiny creature ring any bells for you? Dinner bells, it rings. Mr. Crow dove off his hat. Mr. Crow dove off his hat, targeting the unsuspecting creature. No! Watch out! Scarecrow cried. The tiny creature turned just in time to fall sideways onto the ground, the pebble falling on top of her, as Mr. Crow crashed face first with a beak full of dirt. Why you? Ah! She looked back and forth between them, bewildered. Scarecrow picked Mr. Crow up by the nape of his neck, raised him to eye level, and scolded. We do not eat helpless little creatures. Now, do we? We eat helpless creatures. Now we do, Mr. Crow retorted. Who's calling me helpless? The tiny creature chirped while trying to get out from beneath the pebble. The tiny creature chirped while chirped is. The tiny creature yelped while trying to get out from beneath the pebble. Ignoring her, Scarecrow maintained eye contact. Let's not ignore her. Scarecrow maintained eye contact with his feathery companion. If you were helpless, would you want a bigger scary bird eating you? Bigger scary birds all gone. Because of the nothingness? The crow's eyes widened in absolute terror. He flapped his wings chaotically. The crow's eyes widened in absolute terror. He flapped his wings chaotically, forcing Scarecrow to let go as he cried, We know eat helpless creatures. We know eat. He circled above, lost in a world of his own, as his mumbles devolved into inaudible words. Woe-tino. Scarecrow dropped his hand, not realizing that the mere mention of that phenomenon, which, truth be told, he didn't quite understand yet, which, truth be told, was terrifying. Which, truth be told, was terrifying. Scarecrow dropped his hand, not realizing that the mere mention of that phenomenon, which, truth be told, was terrifying, seemed to shake the crow to his core. A multitude of tiny, angry shouts returned Scarecrow's attention back to the little creature. A multitude of tiny, angry shouts. A multitude of angry shouts returned Scarecrow's attention to the little creature. Let's see, what are you saying? Let's see, Cap. I've got trouble thinking outside the strange terms sometimes because I like that they create different pictures in everyone's mind eye. Yeah, but I think that's actually kind of cool. And I think that's actually kind of a cool thing with the writing style, being able to use metaphors in a way that paints a picture. He knows her. It's almost like Scarecrow read the book already. Peculiar. No, there's it's almost like Scarecrow's from the future. Hey, what's up, Chloe? Welcome, my friend. Like Tras, let's see, Tras Papalopagus. Tras Papalopagus. I think I said that right, actually. Yo, Chloe. Welcome. We're just reading through one of my character introductions. Let's see. I think that is all good. Scarecrow dropped his hand, not realizing that the mere mention of that phenomenon, which truth be told was terrifying, seemed to shake the crow to his core. A multitude of angry shouts returned Scarecrow's attention to the little creature. And I'm glad you two are being cute. You're gonna let me die down here? And I'm glad you two are being cute. You're gonna let me die down here? She wriggled about back and forth, still stuck beneath the weight of the pebble. Oh, I'm sorry, Scarecrow said as he bent down. Scarecrow exclaimed as he bent down to grab the pebble and toss it aside. An enraged look flitted across the tiny creature's face. An enraged look flitted across her face. Her face, now framed by a head of luscious purple curls, since the hood had fallen away in the fall. Like, I don't know why it was luscious. Let's see, luscious, sweet tasting. I don't know if luscious is the right word. I think voluminous. Luminous. I was like, I don't think luscious is the right word. I think lustrous might work. An enraged look flitted across her face, now framed by a head of lustrous. I don't like that, though. Actually, now framed, an enraged look flitted across her face, now framed by a head of lively purple. Let's go lively purple curls. Since the hood had fallen away. Since the hood had fallen back. The look was replaced. Her look was replaced by one of profound sadness as she made a grabbing motion toward him. As she made an innocent grabbing motion toward him. Please pick me up, kind creature, whatever you are. Please pick me up. Scarecrow sighed as he held out an open palm for her to hop on. Raising his palm to chest level, he continued, I do sincerely apologize. I sincerely apologize for the crow's behavior. Closer, I can't hear you, she squeaked. Scarecrow raised her to eye level as he continued. My companion, Mr. Crow. He nodded toward the crow who had perched on a nearby stalk of corn as he pecked away at it. Pecking away at it. Corn while pecking away at it. My companion, Mr. Crow. He nodded toward the crow. Let's see. He has been searching for his family for some time. He has been searching for his family for some time. I believe it might be clouding his judgment. I believe it might be clouding his sanity. He hoped that was the truth, since the crow was difficult to predict. Scarecrow raised her to eye level as he continued. My companion, Mr. Crow. He nodded toward the crow who had perched on a nearby stalk of corn while pecking away at it. He has been searching for his family for some time. He has been searching for his family for quite some time. He might not be the sanest. He might not be the sanest. Scarecrow glanced back at Mr. Crow again, who was now rolling around in the dirt. I mean, this is funny, but I don't think I need this. I don't think I need that moment. Scarecrow raised her eyelid as he continued. My companion, Mr. Crow, he nodded toward the crow who had perched on a nearby stalk of corn while pecking away at it. He has been searching for his family and isn't thinking clearly and doesn't think clearly. He has been searching for his family and doesn't. A little closer. I can't hear you. She interrupted. Actually, that's better. So the Scarecrow raised her to eye level as he continued. My companion, Mr. Crow, he nodded toward the crow who had perched on a nearby stalk of corn while pecking away at it. He has been searching for his family and doesn't. A little closer. I can't hear you, she interrupted. Yeah, Chloe, this is the Last Scarecrow is really, really cool. And I'm so glad now that I actually have the website for Last Scarecrow. For anyone who wants to know more about the Last Scarecrow, you can go check out the website. This kind of gives you the full background on the book. There you go. I just dropped that in the chat for y'all. But yeah, it's been working on it over the course of the last 700 consecutive live streams. Is Scarecrow edible? That's a good question. I mean, if a creature can eat straw, then yes. And literally earlier in the chapter, Scarecrow took a piece of straw to try to help Mr. Crow smell it, and then Mr. Crow just ate the straw. So anything that could eat straw technically could eat Scarecrow. It's a good question. Aw, Brooklyn. That's so cool. Story time. I always love story time. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Scarecrow. Okay, where was the beginning of this beat? So an enraged look flitted across her face, now framed by a head of lively purple curls. Since her hood had fallen back. Since the hood had fallen away. Her look was replaced by one of profound sadness, as she made an innocent grabbing motion towards him. Please pick me up, kind creature, whatever you are, please pick me up. Scarecrow sighed as he held out an open palm for her to hop on. Raising his palm to chest level, he continued, I sincerely apologize for my companion's behavior, for the crow's behavior. Closer, I can't hear you, she squeaked. Scarecrow raised her to eye level as he continued. My companion, Mr. Crow, he nodded toward the crow who had perched on a nearby stalk of corn while pecking away at it. He has been searching for his family and doesn't. A little closer, I can't hear you, she interrupted. Scarecrow looked questioningly at the tiny creature's wide, begging eyes as she reached for him affectionately. What did he know about hearing? He brought his palm closer, nearly touching his nose. She stepped forward with an elbow raised sky high and punched him. Elbow raised sky high. Elbow raised sky high and punched him in the eye. Ouch, Scarecrow cried as he dropped his hand to grab his nose. I did it in his nose. She stepped forward, elbow, and punched him in the nose. Actually, I don't think I actually know to clarify where. She stepped forward, elbow raised sky high, and punched him. Ouch, Scarecrow yelped as he dropped his hand to grab his nose, but she clung to him as if weathering a hurricane. That's for calling me helpless, straw stack, she shouted while gripping. I think I just used clinging. While gripping to his face. With one hand and punching him repeatedly with the other. Oh my goodness. I love her introduction. That's for calling me helpless, straw stack. That's for calling me helpless, you straw stack, she shouted while gripping But she shouted while gripping his face with one hand while holding on. Let's do it. While holding on with one hand. That's for calling me helpless, you straw stack, she shouted while holding on with one hand and punching him repeatedly with the other. Straw brain, Mr. Crow's notorious cawing laughter chimed in. Momentarily distracted, the creature stopped. The tiny creature stopped and chuckled. Shook her head, and then pointed in his eye. Whatever your name is, straw brain, put me down this instant and shoo. I don't have time. Scarecrow grabbed her by the nape of her neck. Scarecrow grabbed her by the nape of her it's the nape of her neck. She has the cloak on. I mean, I guess the hood's fallen away. Scarecrow grabbed her by the nape of her neck before she could attack again, setting the tiny creature back on his other palm. Scarecrow grabbed her by the nape of her neck before she could attack again, setting the tiny creature back onto his other palm. She stumbled to her feet, puffed her chest out, and spun her heel to approach the ridge of his palm, peering over the edge. Feeling guilty over the encounter while trying to make amends, Scarecrow blurted out, "Are you heading back towards New City? Maybe I..." He eyed Mr. Crow, who chased something undistinguishable. He eyed Mr. Crow, who rolled around in the dirt. He eyed Mr. Crow, who rolled. "Are you heading back towards New City? Maybe I..." He eyed Mr. Crow, who rolled around in the dirt. He said, eyeing Mr. Crow, who rolled around in the dirt. We can help." Feeling guilty over the encounter while trying to make amends, Scarecrow blurted out, "Are you heading back towards New City? He said, eyeing Mr. Crow, rolled around in the dirt. "We can help. Maybe we can help." The tiny creature snorted. The tiny creature responded with a snort, sounding like an out-of-tune instrument. The tiny creature's snort sounded like an out-of-tune instrument. A glance over her shoulder, she said, "We don't know. Who'd want a trip to that pile of rubbish?" Who'd want a trip back to that pile of rubbish, that pile of rubble? The tiny creature's snort sounded like an out-of-tune instrument. Who'd want a trip back to that pile of rubble? Who'd want a trip back to that scrap heap? Only dumb animals searching for... "The last robot," Scarecrow exclaimed. "I saw you in his memory. You..." He pointed to Crow, and he pointed to Mr. Crow. He said, pointing to Mr. Crow, "And you. That's why you look so familiar." Mr. Crow twisted his neck uncannily and looked up at them with confused black and silvered eyes. Both the tiny creature and the crow asked at the same time, "Who is the last robot?" The Tin Wizard? The confusion plastered on their faces only magnified his helplessness. The confusion plastered on their faces only magnified the situation. Flabbergasted, Scarecrow stuttered. We only just left. You tried to eat..." Flabbergasted, Scarecrow pointed. Scarecrow turned to Mr. Crow, stuttering. Flabbergasted, Scarecrow turned to Mr. Crow, stuttering. We only just left. You tried to eat his head after his lights went out. You tried to eat his head. We only just left. You tried to eat your friend's head. You tried to eat his head. Silence. Beware the eyes of hunger, Mr. Crow croaked and passed off what seemed like a smile, but came across as a deranged look. Mr. Crow croaked and passed off a deranged smile. Scarecrow rolled his eyes, turning his attention back to the tiny creature. She stated, "Don't know, don't care. Now leave me be." With the grace of a butterfly and arms spread wide, she dove headfirst off his palm. The way she dove, he half expected a pair of wings to unfurl, but she plummeted toward the ground. Panicked, Scarecrow lowered his hand just above ground level to catch her. She landed with a grunt, as if that was the expected reaction, and stepped off. Clapping dust off her hands, the tiny creature returned to the same pebble nearby and spat over her shoulder. "Now leave me be, heathen. Now leave me be, heathen. I have a real mission to attend to." With great difficulty, she lifted the pebble, nearly falling over again in the process. Stumbling back and forth, her journey resumed, one slow footstep at a time. The tiny creature's reflection was mirrored off Mr. Crow's eyes as he licked his beak. The tiny creature's reflection was mirrored off Mr. Crow's eyes as the bird licked his beak. Scarecrow wagged a finger at his Scarecrow wagged a finger warningly. The crow flew on to his shoulder, grumbling. The tiny creature's reflection was mirrored off Mr. Crow's eyes as the bird licked his beak. Scarecrow wagged a finger warningly until the crow flew onto his shoulder, grumbling under his breath. Checking the sky, the sun was already lowering. Well, the light of the moon could be seen off. So then I go towards. Then we do a description check. Thanks, Brooklyn. Glad you like the website. It's fun, isn't it? It gives a really cool vibe on what a scarecrow is like. Checking the sky, the sun was already lowering. Checking the sky, the sun was already dropping. Was already lowering. Checking the sky, the sun was already. The sun was already dipping. Checking the sky, the sun was already dipping, while the light of the moon could be seen near the horizon, behind a group of puffy white clouds. How were these days so short? How were these days so short? Scarecrow shook his head as he stepped carefully around the tiny creature. How were these days so short? They couldn't have been walking for more than an hour. They couldn't have been walking for that long. Scarecrow shook his head as he stepped carefully around the tiny creature. Scarecrow stepped carefully around the tiny creature so as not to squash or get in her way. "I sure hope this garden has straw stuffing in it, Mr. Crow." It's about ready to fall. We don't need that. Scarecrow stepped carefully around the tiny creature so as not to squash or get in her way. Actually, I don't think we need the weather. I think that pulls us out at that moment. I mean, it's kind of maybe. Scarecrow stepped. I'm just going to highlight it because I can't decide. It could go either way on this. Scarecrow stepped carefully around the tiny creature so as not to squash or get in her way. Hey, where do you think you're going? Hey, where do you think you're going? Squeaked the tiny creature from behind. Scarecrow stopped and turned around. Despite being a creature of such small proportions, she was rather quite boisterous. I think boisterous was the right word. Despite being a creature of such small proportions, she was rather boisterous. My friend here is leading us to a garden. Unfortunately, without more straw stuffing, I might be liable too. Scarecrow shuddered at the very thought of him suddenly collapsing into a pile of straw. Fall apart. He finished breathlessly. Did I allow you to tread on my path? Scarecrow eyed Mr. Crow sideways. Let's do this. Unfortunately, I might be liable too. Scarecrow shuddered at the very thought of him. At the very thought of suddenly collapsing into a pile of straw. Fall apart. Scarecrow trailed off, shuddering at the very thought of suddenly collapsing into a pile of straw. Fall apart. He finished breathlessly. Did I allow you to tread on my path? Did I allow you to keep walking my path? Scarecrow eyed Mr. Crow sideways. After careful consideration, with a deep breath as if trying to calm herself down, you may use the path and accompany me to the gardens. After careful consideration, she said with a deep breath, as if trying to calm herself down, you may use my path and accompany me to the gardens. Isn't that what I offered? Plus, you and Feathers over there, Mr. Crow cawed. Plus, you and Feathers over there, Mr. Crow cawed. Nearly killed me. You owe me 3 times now. You owe me 3 times now. Plus, you and Feathers over there, Mr. Crow cawed. Nearly killed me. You owe me 3 times now. You owe me 3 times. 3 times over. Scarecrow chuckled. Despite having just met this tiny creature, her bravado was rather endearing. Her bravado was rather entertaining. Was rather endearing more than off-putting. Despite having just met the tiny creature, her bravado was rather endearing. Despite having just met this tiny creature, her bravado was rather endearing more than off-putting. Her bravado was rather entertaining. Her bravado was rather endearing. He took a step back and lowered a hand for her to hop on. With a grunt, she heaved the pebble onto his palm and climbed on after. Raising her back to chest level, he started. He warned. As long as you don't punch me again. She returned the velvet. She muttered. She muttered under her breath. Muttering under her breath, she whispered, no promises. The tiny creature returned the velvet hood over her head. The tiny creature returned the velvet hood over her head, which sparkled subtly in the reddish-orange haze cast off by the setting sun. Crossing her arms and with the point of her head, she asked, So, what are you? So, what are you? Mr. Crow cawed. Not you, Feathers. Doesn't take an alchemist to know what you are. Not you, Feathers. Doesn't take an alchemist to know what you are. It's interesting that I went with alchemist here. I wonder if... I mean, it works for the world. Not you, Feathers. Doesn't take an alchemist to know what you are. He laughed. I'm a scarecrow. Didn't know scarecrows were real. Not surprised, though, with this world. She shrugged. That makes two of us, Scarecrow laughed. And what about you? His question hung in the air. None of your beeswax. All you need to know is that you owe me 3 times. Scarecrow nodded. This mission is life and death. Okay. Didn't know scarecrows were real. Not surprised, though. What with this world? She shrugged. That makes 2 of us, Scarecrow laughed. And what about you? His question hung in the air. All you need to know is that you owe me 3 times. Got it? Scarecrow nodded. This mission is life and death. Her eyes widened as a mischievous grin flicked across her lips. You do what I say when I say, and we're even. Got it? As long as it doesn't go against... As long as it doesn't go against my morals, Scarecrow blurted out. Scarecrow blurted out, uncertain where those words came from. As long as it doesn't go against... As long as it doesn't go against my morals, Scarecrow blurted out, uncertain where those words came from. And those are? Guess I don't remember. It feels a little odd. Before Scarecrow could respond, okay, this mission is life and death. Her eyes widened as a mischievous grin flicked across her lips. You do what I say, when I say, and we're even. Got it? You got it? Before Scarecrow could respond, she continued. We're agreed then. Now onwards. You can be my servant for now. Scarecrow didn't quite know what a servant was, but like his experience with Mr. Crow, he didn't want to push anything that might agitate her. He didn't want to push anything that might agitate the tiny creature. He continued to march along the zigzagged dirt path, the shadows of the sunset growing wider and longer before them on the ground. Growing wider and longer before them across the ground. Attempting to break the silence, Scarecrow interjected. And so I think I'm almost... Yeah. So attempting to break the silence, Scarecrow interjected. So what should we call you then? He realized after asking the question. Attempting to break the silence, Scarecrow interjected. Scarecrow asked. So what should we call you then? He realized after asking the question if he ever had a name other than Scarecrow. Names felt like an odd thing to him. Mr. Crow seemed to fit his feathery friend. What was that even really his name either? He knew one thing for sure. Names felt like an odd thing to him. Mr. Crow seemed to fit his feathery friend, but was that even really his name? Mr. Crow seemed to fit his feathery friend, but was that even really the bird's name? He knew one thing for sure. He didn't like the idea of referring. He knew one thing for sure. He didn't like the idea of referring to her as tiny creature. My name is, she spat out as if searching for an answer. My name is, she looked up at the sky as if trying to recapture a memory on the tip of her tongue. She looked up at the sky as if searching for the words, searching for words. And finally she finished. Is none of your business, is none of your beeswax. Is none of your beeswax. Mr. Crow knocked the pebble around in Scarecrow's outstretched hand. Mr. Crow knocked the pebble around in Scarecrow's outstretched hand and croaked, "Food is pebble." She pointed a finger daringly back at the bird. "Touch me and I'll burn ya." "Don't test me, Feathers." Uncertain whether the lack of a name was intentional or forgetful, Scarecrow suggested, Pebble is a great nickname. Is a great code name. Pebble is a great nickname. Pebble is a good nickname. Great idea, Mr. Crow. She opened her mouth but snapped it shut. Silence providing her agreement. She opened her mouth but snapped it shut. Silence providing agreement. With a twirl, Pebble pointed up the path. "Pick up the pace, servant. I haven't got all day." Scarecrow sighed as Mr. Crow rocked his head back and forth, synchronizing with his footsteps. As Mr. Crow rocked back and forth. Without turning around, Pebble warned. "And if you drop that pebble, I'll burn you too, Scarecrow. Something tells me you like fire less than feathers over there. Something tells me you like fire less than feathers over there." Scarecrow remained silent. Scarecrow remained silent as he shivered. Scarecrow remained silent as he shivered at the fire encounter. Scarecrow remained silent as he shivered at the fiery encounter back in New City. He glanced over his shoulder. The city was now a speck. The ruined city was now a speck in the distance. The sun had nearly set in the sky. The light it cast upon the green fields around them was an immaculate collage of reds, oranges, and yellows. He had more questions for this pebble, but as they fell into a comfortable silence, her in one hand and the crow on his shoulder, Scarecrow reveled in the fact that he wasn't alone, if only temporarily. They treaded along the dirt path, following the arrows that were beckoning more consistent. They walked along the dirt path, following the arrows. They walked along the dirt path, following the arrows. With the sun at their backs and the starry, clouded, moon-filled sky ahead of them, the world seemed calm, hopeful, and full of possibility. Man, what a chapter. I always love the Pebble introduction. She is way larger than her form. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, when you look in proportion of like on the book cover of how big she is with the pebble, I mean, Scarecrow describes her as the size of the palm of his hand. And then, I mean, I think in the cover, she probably looks like the size of his hand, not just the palm of his hand. I might describe her as being slightly bigger. Palm size is pretty small, like a bug. I think maybe being the size of a hand might actually be a little bit more accurate. Man, what a fun chapter. And wow, yeah, we went for a while too. So that is her. Once we get her introduction, I feel like her entire introduction was very fun. I feel like you get a very intriguing sense of who her character might be, and I absolutely love her introduction. I absolutely love it. I'm just asking myself, like, the beginning of the chapter, I need to tighten up. I need to tighten up the beginning of the chapter a little bit more, but overall, I'm pretty happy with this chapter. Push comes to Pebble. Oh, I'm so glad. I missed Pebble. All right, my friends. I felt like today we made some awesome progress. Thank you all for joining me. I'm glad that I was able to get some substantial time to work on Scarecrow. So thank you all for joining. That was a great chapter. And then the next chapter is the crazy one, Cult of the Moonflower. Oh, love it. So much fun. So we'll continue on tomorrow. Let's see what time I have tomorrow for another writing sprint. Thank you for joining. More writing sprints to come. Make sure to tap that like button if you enjoyed the stream. Help us show the algorithm that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends. That's all that I got for you. Yeah. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate the journey today. And unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. Words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. It's time to write.
Right now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.